Hey folks, this is Jeff from Dead Drift Consulting. It's been quite a while since the last time I did any kind of video. It's been a while since I did anything regarding archery. But I've recently been like reinvigorated with shooting a bow. Despite the fact that I, once again, for like the 5th year in a row, failed to draw an archery elk tag here in Arizona, which is disappointing, but I mean, that's the way it goes. So I don't know whether to be, I really can't complain about it. So anyway, despite that fact, we do have the deer and deer and sheep and bison maybe. That draw comes up in a couple of months in June, and I have high hopes for that, for drawing a tag for some mule deer or something. But even if I don't grab those tags, I can go over the counter in August, December, and then January. So those 3 months out of every year, I can go buy a tag. Anyway, I recently acquired a new bow, which is, it was a want. It was totally a want. It wasn't actually truly a need, because the one I have now, my backup is still a fantastic bow. It shoots great, and I don't necessarily have any problem with it. But I was intrigued by the new one, the new Prime, and so that's what I stuck with. This is I think my 5th or 6th. I think it's my 5th year in a row that I've been shooting Prime, and I don't have anything bad to say about them. I love them. They shoot great for me. They draw well and they hold well, and I'm just very pleased with the whole product and the company behind it, like the history and some of the videos that they put out that explain who they are, what they do, why they do it. That kind of philosophy really kind of it really resonates with me, and so I've chosen to stick with Prime. So this year's bow is the RVX34. Excuse me. The RVX34. This is an 80-pound bow. I ordered it with 80-pound limbs. I've been shooting 80-pound limbs for quite a while, and I like that, and I do that because for several factors, which I'll get into here in a moment. And then this is the Solo Hunter Mountainscape, I think it is. I think that's the name of this camouflage pattern that is on the limbs. So I chose the Mountainscape limbs, and then the hammered gray riser, which I've been a huge fan of since they came out with this. I just sold a bow to a buddy, and it was the original, like the first generation hammered gray riser. And I think that was, I can't remember. Oh, the Nexus. So it was the Nexus that I had. And that was like 3 years ago, I think. That was a hammered gray riser also. I fell in love with it back then. I still think that original first generation version of this finish was better than this one, but I'm not really complaining. The other one, like the first gen one, had just more visual texture to it, and it like excited my eyes to look at it. This is a little bit more subtle. It definitely looks better finished. Like the actual finish itself is super consistent, dull, not shiny, but still makes you want to look at it. It draws your eyes in, and of course the black and gray kind of combo, while some may think that's pretty boring, it's very appealing to me. It makes me excited about wanting to shoot, which is why I'm doing this video. So I outfitted it with America's Best Bowstrings Platinum Series strings right out of the gate. I've had very good luck with their strings, and I really like the consistency, durability, and the quality of the strings that they build. So I just don't mess around with factory strings. I don't think there's anything wrong with the factory strings, honestly. I don't know that I would see like a true, like a tangible difference in shooting the factory strings versus immediately putting on, you know, a high dollar set of America's Best bowstrings. But I have a lot of faith in this product, and that gives me a lot of confidence, and then that leads to less distractions, which is also higher performance. It's a whole philosophy of mine I can go into at length, and I won't do that now. Anyhow, I had Grady up at my pro shop is Ross Outdoors in Phoenix. It's a shop that I used to work at for about 4 years, a little bit more actually, 4.5 years. I worked there part-time. Grady has been, if any of you who are in the Phoenix area and you're bow hunters, you've probably at least visited the shop in just south of downtown Phoenix, or maybe even before when they were out at like 59th and Van Buren. Anyway, you've probably run into Grady and know him or have whatever. The dude is unbelievable. Like whatever. I'm a little speechless because I don't know how to truly describe it. He's under 30 years old, and the guy has accomplished so much with regard to archery, competition, bow hunting, maximizing opportunities, whatever. And he's super freaking smart, and he's a great bow tech. Anyway, his handle on Instagram is at @azbowguy. So if you're looking for someone to follow that is worth your time and will answer your questions, that's the guy. Anyways, I had Grady pick the colors for this string because I've had him do that before. I used to get super OCD about what color combination, what I was really looking for. Not to be bougie or flashy, but because I was trying to achieve a specific thing, which is I like a lighter, brighter colored bowstring. It allows my eyes to see it more quickly. It's easier for me to inspect and see damage if it's there, or see the condition of the string, to trace it through the cams and through the whole system of the bow, and be able to really kind of see where it goes, make sure it's just an inspection process thing for me. And it's a low light thing because I'm getting older, and like the sooner I can see things, the better. And if I want to be able to see my bowstring. Anyway, so he picked the string. It's kind of I think it's a silver, like a kiwi green and a pale purple or pink-ish color, which is less visible than the last one he chose for me. But it still is nice and light, and it looks good with the bow. The backup bow that I have is a couple years old, and it's the Prime Inline 4, or the Inline 5 rather. And it's this hammered penny finish on this bow, and I really like these hammered colors. Anyway, the string color you can see here, it's like a darker purple, a darker gray, and then like a fluorescent orange. And man, that really sticks out. And it's the colors are great. I love it. But this is the backup bow, and this is the one that I'm keeping. I just sold. Did I mention this already? I just sold the Nexus to a buddy, and it had this hammered gray finish. So I kind of wanted to get the new one in that finish again because, like I said, I just love it. But at any rate, I've been through 5 different bows, starting with the CT5, and then whichever one came after that, I can't even remember. Then the Nexus, then this inline series. I skipped the RVX series last year because I didn't buy a new bow last year. And then now the current version is the RVX. And I prefer all my bows, I prefer to shoot a little bit longer axle to axle. So this is a 34-inch axle to axle bow. The inline's a 35. I like the 34, give or take an inch. Like my son's Hoyt, I think, is a 33-inch. Anyway, that would be acceptable too, as long as it's shot well for me. I mean that axle to axle length. As long as it's shot well for me, that would be acceptable as well. But I really am like a big fan of the 34, 35-inch bow. The one before I went to Prime 5 years ago or so, the last bow I shot was an Elite Energy 35, and that's a 35-inch axle bow. So even though I'm a short guy with a shorter draw, I'm 5'8", and my draw length is 27.5 or 28, sometimes depending on the bow. Even though I have that shorter stature and the shorter draw length, I like the longer bows because I like the stability at full draw, and I like the way it holds on target. And I love the way that the shot feels when it finally breaks and the arrow goes. I'm kind of addicted to that specific feeling. So I just stick with, you know, these longer axle to axle length bows. I have the AAE Mountain Series stabilizers on the front bar. This is a 12-inch bar. I have a 15 that I shot for a couple of years, and I like it, but I'm trying the 12, and I think based on the, I don't know, 3 or 4 dozen arrows I shot last night, and then a few, maybe a dozen this afternoon or earlier this morning, I think the 12-inch bar is going to be a better choice. I'm not sure. I'm giving it some time because I was shooting the 15 for such a long time that I want to make sure that I'm making the decisions based on what I'm actually feeling, and it's accurate. It's an accurate feeling. So anyway, I'm trying that out. And then I run an 8-inch back bar with more weight on the back than I do on the front, and it's kicked out a little bit at an angle. I play with that angle frequently also. But we'll see how things work out. As to whether or not I even need the back bar, I'm not sure yet because I haven't mounted a quiver to this yet, and I'm waiting to do that until I get this bow properly broken in. I get the feel back to where, you know, I'm really dialed in with how it shoots, and then I'll start messing with other things. I'm running the Hamskea Epsilon Arrow Rest, which Hamskea collaborated with Prime for this arrow rest. It's branded. It's got the Prime logo on the face of the rest, and it attaches through the rearmost, so this is the face of the bow. It attaches to the burger hole that is closest to the face of the bow. That's where it screws in. It does not fit into like a dovetail sort of slot, even though that is milled into the riser here. I think the QAD rests, or some of them, I don't remember, I think they fit directly onto the riser in that attachment method, but this one just attaches the way it does. And then I'm running the Black Gold Pro HD bow sight. Now I've used the other one. It was called the Pro something, and it had like individual like tunable turrets for elevation and windage, which appealed to me because based on my career, that level of micrometer style adjustment really appealed to me. But I don't know if it was just me. Like, you tell me if you've had this problem, but man, those dials, and then loosening the right pins in the right orders so that you could make elevation and windage adjustments, or elevation most specifically, was like a huge pain in the ass. It was inconsistent. I was never able to really I guess dial in my brain or the technique to properly like loosen this one, just crack this one loose, turn the dial this way or that way, and you'll get individual pin elevation changes. I was never able to actually perfect that, and it just became way more trouble than it's worth. And the damn sight is like insanely expensive. I think it's like $460. Whatever. So I went with the Pro HD, which gives me the same Black Gold Pro pins, which are really good. Great light gathering ability, super bright. I think these are the brightest pins on the market that aren't lit by an external source, or by something other than natural light, rather. Still gives me the adjustment with the slider, and then I retain this. I can't remember what they call this sight bar, but it's like it looks like a structural girder piece from a building, and it's pretty. It's nice. It looks good, but at any rate, it's attached to the side of the riser like a traditional bow sight has been. It's not attached to this Picatinny rail section that is screwed into the front of the riser on the new Prime bows. In the future here, I'm probably going to buy the adapter for this sight to attach directly to the front of the bow, which will eliminate all this bulk on the side of the riser and then allow my bow quiver to even sit more closely to the riser, which I think is kind of the whole point of developing this attachment system in the first place, or at least it's one of them, the fact that accessories like a bow quiver can now sit as close as possible to the bow to centralize the mass of the whole thing, at least on this vertical axis. It still puts weight on the offside of the bow, right? You can't avoid the weight penalty because it's going to be there, but it's where that weight is placed, like leverage. This is an easy concept for all of you to understand. I'm sure you all do anyways, but I'm just talking through it. Eventually though, yeah, I'll relocate that sight up front, put the quiver as close as possible. And I only mention that because when I say I may or may not run this back bar, that will be the deciding factor, is how much balance do I need, if any, off this side of the bow in order to counteract the mass on the other side of the bow. So we'll see. What else is there? I don't know. This is the smoothest drawing bow. Like the only other bow that I can think of immediately off the top of my head that drew this smoothly, the draw cycle was this smooth, is that Elite E35. I haven't shot the new Elites. I know that they're popular and well represented by other hunting, maybe well, not other, by hunting celebrities, because I certainly do not fit in that category. And I'm glad, because I've always had that Elite bow, that E35 was the best bow I've ever shot. It was the bow that I took my first animal with here in Arizona. And I still love that brand and that bow. That thing specifically though, super smooth shooter, great freaking draw cycle, easy on my shoulders, which I've had 4 shoulder surgeries, including a partial replacement. So, you know, that draw cycle is important, and this thing matches and probably, just because of technology, probably exceeds the smoothest of the draw cycle on the Elite E35. So super easy to draw. I backed these limbs off 3 complete turns. According to Prime, you cannot, there's not endless like thread engagement on those screws. They recommend no more than 3 turns out from full stop on the limbs to reduce the poundage. So right now on an 80-pound set of limbs, I'm probably somewhere in the 68 to 70-pound range. And I did that on purpose. I backed off on the poundage just to get the feel of the bow. I really wanted to be tuned into how it drew and how it released and how it held and what the vibration was at the end. And that's easier to do with a little bit lower poundage. And it's been a while since I've actually dedicated myself to really shooting consistently day after day. And I didn't want to wreck myself or hurt myself by trying to do too much too soon. So this is sitting right around that 70-pound mark-ish after taking those turns out of the limb bolts. But it's shooting great. It's holding very well. It's super stable. It's typical Prime stuff. A good draw cycle, a solid back wall, very steady and easy to hold on target and maintain that stability while I work through my shot process, which I shoot a hinge. So there's a strong mental component to that. I shoot through that, and then unlike Primes in the past, this thing has very, very little vibration. Like there's always vibration in every bow, but arguably some are better than others, and you can actually feel that difference. Like I didn't want to like Matthews, but I'll be damned if those Matthews bows are pretty fucking dead in the hand, man, when you shoot them. I haven't shot a Matthews in a couple of years, so I'm not qualified to make a comparison between this one and that one. But I would say, but the Prime RVX is one of the most dead in the hand bows I've shot ever. It's really good. I can still feel a little vibration, but again, you're dealing. Look at what you're dealing with, right? You're dealing with this highly technologically advanced spring launcher that's got all this potential energy stored, and then you're unleashing it all at one moment. But they've done some really good things with the core cams. A single cam versus the Nexus series and prior. were the, what do they call them? The dual cam or parallel cam. You remember what I'm talking about. It's two of these giant cams side by side on each end of the bow, one string, and very aggressive looking. Well, Prime switched it up when they went to the inline series and went to just a single cam. And it's not rocket surgery, right? Because I know all this highly technological stuff, like everybody's making them, and it could be argued like, well, what took Prime so damn long to like get away from that crazy giant heavy cam on each end of the bow? I don't know. I don't know what the story is, but it did work, and it was easy to shoot, and I was shooting it, and I was successful with it. So whatever. But the current cam design is something different, and it's very similar to the inline cam. It's not as beefy. Like they've reduced well, it looks like anyways, they've reduced the material thickness that they're using to make these new core cams. The point is, what you feel and what you experience is pretty special, and it's very enjoyable. It's an easy bow to shoot. So yeah, anyway, that's the new bow. I'm super happy. It's fun to shoot. I'm excited about shooting it again, shooting a bow. And then the arrows that I'm shooting this year are again the Easton Pro Comp shaft, which literally 4 years ago, I made the switch to this shaft. And there's one of the videos on my YouTube page. I title all of my arrow building videos load development, because from the rifle perspective, that's what you do with bullets when you're trying to find the ultimate in your hand loading. You develop a load that works best in that rifle. So I call all of my videos load development, and this one is actually specifically titled the Easton Pro Comp. So I found these shafts after losing, a favorite, the Easton ACC. They quit making those, and now they're virtually impossible to find. Well, now this year they've discontinued the Pro Comp and have replaced it with what they're calling I think it's the X10, but it's called the Parallel Pro. And it's a similar build to this. I think from what I understand, it's a better, more efficient manufacturing process than how they used to make the Pro Comp, but I don't know for sure. Anyway, it's still an aluminum core shaft with a carbon shaft on the outside bonded to it, and that's what the Pro Comp is. I've been buying these up as much as I can. They're expensive, but like the inventory is shrinking because they discontinued these, and people like them. And I know people like them because multiple hunting celebrities have begun at least experimenting with, if not fully committing to, this shaft in the last 4 years. I don't know what took so long for this one to come to the surface, because again, I spotted this 4 years ago and I was like, holy shit, this is like a better, more precise, higher tolerance Easton ACC. Why wouldn't I use that? Because I love the ACC. Anyhow, I'm sticking with the Easton shaft. I'm sticking with the whole Iron Will Outfitters point system. And I shoot the Snyder core ones, which are sized specifically for 4mm or micro inner diameter arrows, 0.166 on the inside diameter. And then I don't have an example of it here, but like if you're familiar with the Iron Will system or with the Snyder core system specifically, there's like a 2.5 inch tail, because right here where my fingernail is, right there is the end of the shaft. And then this footer or collar fits over the outside of the shaft, but locates right there on the end of the shaft. So below that point, below this point right here, there's like a 2.5 inch steel tail that goes down inside the center of the shaft. So that allows me to shoot an underspined, for my draw weight, an underspined arrow shaft, because I cut them short and I'm filling the inside, the front 2.5 inches with steel. That stiffens the arrow shaft up. It increases the spine, so I'm able to get away with a 340 spine shaft shooting 80 pounds out of a bow. But I'm going to stick with that, the iron well stuff. I'm switching. I'm sticking with Fletch vanes because I've been shooting them for years and I really like their vanes. They're super consistent. They're very durable. They stick well for me. They're super lightweight. I like them a lot. This is the SK3, the Silent Night 3-inch shield cut vane. Well, they've got a new one called the Pro 2.5, which obviously shorter than the 3-inch, but it looks like it has the same profile and height as the SK3. The SK2 is horrible. It steers an arrow, and it's fine if you're shooting just targets, but that's the noisiest freaking vane I've ever used. I think it's even noisier than feathers because I fletched hunting arrows with feathers one year just because I wanted to. And those were noisy, but that SK2 is complete fail from a hunting perspective as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, I'm going to try the Pro 2.5 and see what that does for me. I'm going to stick with a wrap. I'm not going to use this AAE wrap anymore. I'm going back to one stringer. I used one stringer years ago, and their selection is phenomenal, and the quality is super high, and it's a very thin, very lightweight wrap. So it doesn't add weight to the ass end of the arrow, but it does give you a better surface to glue the vanes to. And then when you got to strip them off, since it's so thin, it's very easy to like scrape those off with like a razor or something. And I'm ordering the reflective version of their vane to eliminate the lighted knock that I was shooting the last couple of years. I'm going to go with these Easton. I think the current name is 4mm micro light for the knock, but I think that's the same thing as their Deep 6 knock. I'm not sure, but I don't know if you can get it. I don't know if there's a better knock. I'm sure in one respect or another there is, but I've been super happy, super pleased, very satisfied with the Easton Deep 6 knock specifically. The 4mm micro light looks to be exactly the same, so I'm going to shoot those this year, which saves me 10 grains off the ass end of the arrow over a lighted knock, and then with the one stringer wrap that's reflective, that should give me the visibility that I'm after if I'm trying to find that arrow after a pass through or even a miss or whatever. At any rate, this is about a 465 grain arrow. At the way it's built, by the time it's all said and done, if my math works out the way I've already computed it, I should be up between like somewhere in the 480 to 490 range total, which will quiet the bow down even more. I'll lose a few feet per second, whatever that is, for 20 plus grains. I don't know what this is shooting at right now. I have not put it through my chronograph yet. I will at some point. Speed is not my top priority, so as long as I can get somewhere in the 280, give or take 5 feet per second, as long as I can get up there, I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to run that arrow. I shoot fixed blade broadheads, so I don't necessarily want it to be 300 plus, and I don't think 300 plus is as important as, I don't know, in my opinion, it's not as important as other things. Anyhow, so that's the setup for this year. We'll see what we get out of tags in June, and then if not tags in June, then a tag in August that I buy over the counter, and then we'll see where it goes. But right now, I just want to do this quick thing. It's not actually that quick. I'm at 29 and a half minutes, so I appreciate you guys sticking with it. But please go and check out like the whole, like the Easton Pro Comp video from 4 years ago, and then some of the other arrow building videos. I've done quite a few of those where I've switched up components one way or another in order to achieve very specific like data points, things that are important to me, like the proper amount of, like the FOC that I like. Okay, the total weight of the arrow that I like, the way that its trajectory maps out, the silence, all all of those things matter to me, and I get super OCD about this, and I spend more time and money than I should because I'm probably overcomplicating the whole process. But to me, it feels right, and it feels like it satisfies my personality and how I've done things for years, and everything else from fly fishing to precision rifles to all kinds of stuff. It satisfies that requirement for my personality in order to be able to tinker and play with it and really see for myself what the deal is, as opposed to watching this video and listening to some dipshit like me say these things that, I mean, either you believe it or not, and if you do, then great. But you know, there's that cliche that says trust but verify. I'm kind of like that. Like, I want to see it for myself, experience it for myself, so that when I talk to you folks on these videos, or when I talk to a buddy who's building arrows or getting into archery, or when I worked at Ross, when I'm talking to customers, then I can speak from experience and from firsthand knowledge of, like, yes, I have tried this. Here's what I found. Now form your own opinion and make your own decision. Like, whatever. Anyhow, thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with it. A little bit over a half an hour here on this, longer than I wanted, but that's who I am. So I appreciate you hanging out and checking it out. Deaddriftconsulting.com is our website. The YouTube channel is Dead Drift Consulting. On social media, on Instagram, it's at deaddriftconsulting_LLC. And then if you'd like to see some of the shooting stuff, it's very cop-centric, but it's at Standing Offhand. That's the Instagram page for the sister company to Dead Drift Consulting, and it's all about precision rifles and shooting and stuff like that. So, yeah, again, thank you. Appreciate you guys watching. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next time. Bye.